Hi there. Today we're going to be learning how to make my reversible fringe top. This is actually the very first crochet clothing I've ever designed. I love it because it's very versatile. You can do a lot with this. First thing I wanted to discuss is sizing. You can make this for any size. Sizing is determined by how big your granny squares are going to be, because this top is made out of granny squares. I'm going to leave a chart to kind of give you a base idea of how large you want to make your granny square depending on the size. This one I'm showing you here is what I would consider 3 rows. This is 4 rows. Sorry if this moves too fast. Please pause the video whenever it's too fast so that you can see what's going on. I'm using iMovie to edit this, and I'm still getting used to the software. So now we're going to learn how to make granny squares. Like I said, if you already know how to make a granny square, you don't need to watch this at all. I'm using a 3.75 millimeter hook. And I'm using medium 4-weight yarn. First thing you're going to do, obviously, is tie on your yarn. And we're going to chain 4. Then you're going to slip stitch to the first chain from hooks. Sorry if I'm going too fast. And create a little circle. And you're going to chain 3. Then you're going to double crochet 2 times into the circle. So you do 1 double crochet right there, and then you do another double crochet right into the circle. And that is like one little granny square cluster. Then you are going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to do 3 double crochets into the circle that you made. This is going to be your next cluster. Basically, granny squares are just like double crochet over and over again. So just do 3. Then we're going to chain 2 again. These are our corners of our granny square. This is how we're forming the square, by chaining 2 after each cluster. So we're going to do 3 more DCs into this little circle. So after we finish another cluster, going to continue this pattern, and we're going to be chaining 2 again, and then doing another 3 double crochets right into that circle. And when we reach the end of this part, once we finish the 3rd DC, we're going to obviously do 2 more chains, chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch onto that beginning. So we're going to chain 2, right? Chain 2 for a corner, and then slip stitch into that beginning chain 3 space you made. Sorry if I did that kind of fast. And that's going to be your first little tiny baby granny square. And we're going to add rows to it now. So what you're going to do, since we're using a solid color here, we're going to just chain 4 actually. You're going to start chain 3, and an additional one, chain 4. That counts as your chain 1 space. And then you're going to do your double crochets right into those little corners. So you're going to do 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and then you're going to chain 2. These will be your corners. Chain 2, and then do 3 more double crochets into the circle. Sorry, I crochet fast. So there you have your first little corner. Then you're going to chain 1, that's your space, and then we're going to do back to the corner. We're going to do our 3 double crochet chain 2 space, 3 double crochet, cluster. That's what you're going to do in every single granny square corner that you encounter. So there I have my first 3 granny squares right there. First 3 double crochets, and then I'm going to chain 2, right? And then I'm going to do 3 more double crochets right into this corner. Yep. And then remember, chain 1, so chain 1 space, and then to the corner, 3 double crochets, see, 3 double crochets right there, and then chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets right into there. I'm sorry, this is lightning fast. I hope you don't need to see the actual double crochet. If you know how to do a double crochet, then you know. So chain 1, and then do 3 double crochets. This is our last corner here. Go ahead and chain 2. And we're only going to do 2 double crochets into this ending cluster, because we had that chain 4 in the beginning. The first 3 chains of that is one of our double crochets, so we're just going to slip stitch right into that space, and that will have our that'll count as our 3rd double crochet into that corner. So now we're going to add one more row, right? 1, 2, and then 3 in the beginning. So chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Then we are going to chain 1, that's our chain 1 space. We do it over every cluster. And right in the corner we're going to continue our pattern of 3 double crochets. And then we're going to do our chain 2 for our corner space, and then 3 more double crochets to complete our cluster. This is a very repetitive pattern. Then we're going to chain 1 again. Always chain 1 over your 3 double crochet clusters. And then in the chain 1 space, this is kind of new, we're just going to do 3 double crochet clusters. And we'll do that in every chain 1 space. You're going to do 3 double crochet clusters. Remember to chain 1 over the DC spaces, and then in the chain 2 space corners, that's where you're doing your full clusters. I'm sorry if I'm using confusing terminology, but these are your 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets into your chain 2 spaces. In the chain 1 spaces, you're just doing 3 double crochets. That's along the sides. Doing these in the corners is how you're going to increase your granny squares. I'm making my granny squares to fit someone who is between sizes of 36C, which is the sister size of 34D. That's the 4-row. That's the 4-row cluster. So I've got my 3 rows here, and I'm just going to slip stitch at the end right into that beginning chain 3 space after I do my last chain 1 over that little cluster there. So we're going to go ahead and chain 4 like we did on the 2nd row of our granny square. Remember the fourth chain counts as the chain 1 space over that cluster. And in the chain 1 space next to that cluster, we're going to do our 3 double crochets. And you're just going to be continuing this pattern around. And go ahead and chain 1 over your next DC cluster, and then do your big cluster basically in the corner. It has 2 DC clusters. remember to do your chain 2 space. That's your corner. So chain 1, chain 2, and then your 3 double crochets into this corner. Just complete your little corner space, the corner section. Then chain 1, and then 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space. And then chain 1 again, 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space. Remember, all chain 1 spaces get 3 double crochets, and the chain 2 spaces on the corners are those big clusters of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. This is a granny square. This is it. If like this is all you'll be doing if you continue to go on with your granny square size. So at the end here, after our chain 1 space, see this little gap, that's another chain 1 space. We're just going to do, this time, only 2 double crochets. Remember, because that beginning chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So you're just going to slip stitch it, and it'll form its own little cluster. And this is it for me. This is as big as I'm going for this. Remember, she's in between sizes, so now I'll show you how to size for those of you who are in between sizes or in between my sizing chart. So before we adjust our sizing, we have to attach the granny squares that we made. So what I do is I make sure that the front sides are facing each other. You'll know them they're front because they're smooth. The back sides always look kind of rough and bumpy, and maybe they'll have, like, as you can see, mine has little yarn pieces sticking out. Those are the back sides. So you want the front sides to face each other, and then you want to go through, find your chain 2 space. Sorry if it's hard to see, and just go through one of the top loops. Find the other chain 2 space in the opposite side, and go right into that top loop, and we're going to be chaining them together. This is how I join the granny squares. So just go ahead and just do a regular chain, or single crochet them together. Then just going to go along the top here and go through the, I think that's if it's facing you, it's the front loop. As you can see, I'm going through the first loop closest to me, and then in the opposite square, I'm going to go into the top of the loop that's furthest away from me. So this would be the back loop of the opposite side of opposite granny square. So I'm just going to single crochet them together. First through the first loop. I'm not going through the whole chain, just the first loop. Sorry, I need a better camera. And then through the back loop of the adjoining square. And I'm doing this all the way across. See that little ridge. I don't do slip stitches for seaming because I think they're way too tight and kind of mess up the shape of this particular top, but chains seem to work really well for me. Or I'm sorry, single crochets work really well for me. So there we have it, all the way at the end, and at the very, 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 very end, and this will be hard to see, but remember we have those chain 2 spaces, those corners. I'm going to get the first one, right, the first chain right there, go under the loop, and then I'm going to stick it into the adjoining granny square. This makes the squares even more even to me, but if you for some reason can't do this, it'll still be fine. But as you can see, I'm just going through the chain 2 space, the first chain there, getting the loop, and then doing my last single crochet. I just wanted to show you guys that because it's kind of hard to see. But you can see they're joined there, and I'm just gonna cut it off, and then I'll show you how to join the third granny square so that you have a full cup. Okay, so we're gonna tie on our yarn again to our hook, and we're gonna start the process exactly the same way as we just did. So I'm not gonna walk you through this. If it's confusing, please go back and just rewatch what we just did because it's the exact same method. But you'll want to pause once you reach the end of the single crochets along the top of this granny switch. Once you get to the end to the middle, because I need to show you how to connect them all together. So once you reach the end here, as you can see, we're right where our chain 2 space corners are. And once again, you know, it's still the same as the last square we did, the first one we did. You're going to go through the loops of the top of the first chain in the chain 2 space. And it will be kind of tight here, but it's still very possible. And you're just going to do a single crochet to seam them together. Now we're going to go, as you can see, we're going to attach the remaining part. We're going to go through the top of our seam from our other granny square join. I'm going to go through the top of one of those single crochets, and you're just going to slip stitch the yarn. You're going to pull it underneath that single crochet and then pull it underneath the loop, and that will attach that better. It'll look like a nice smooth little triangle, and there'll be a gap for your nipple to fall out. I'm going to show you again just in case. So we're going to go underneath the top single crochet, that first single crochet there at the beginning of our previous join. We're going to yarn over and pull through the single crochet, and then pull that same yarn underneath that loop, and you're good to go. And so now we're going to fold over our granny squares so they're touching, just like this. And we're going to go to that chain 2 space in the corner there. Sorry if it's hard to see. You can see the only one you can use, that's the top loop. Then you're going to go underneath it, underneath that first chain 1 space of the chain 2 space, and try to line it up with the other one. See, it's the only one available for you to even put anything in. Just put your yarn under there, and then go ahead and pull that yarn through and single crochet. And then you're just going to go ahead, like we've been doing, go underneath the first loop of the granny square that's closest to you, and then go under the back loop of the granny square that's on the opposite side, the one you're trying to join. And you're just going to single crochet across like we've done, and this will form your cup. Now this is what I do if I'm just doing the basic sizes. If I'm doing 32A, 32B, 34D, you know, simple granny square, I will be basically done with my cup. And with that cup, I will make a single crochet border around that cup and then slip stitch it into the other cup. So that's what your cup's going to look like. Just go ahead and tie it off right there. Now, like I said, if I was just doing this 34D size, I would go ahead and start a single crochet border around the cup. But because I need it to be a little bigger, I'm going to have to do something else. I also just want to add that you should make your other cup as well. Just you have to make both of them before you can continue on. But you can see in one of the cups I've done another granny square border around, just a slight one around, just to make it a bit larger so that she can wear this top comfortably. And this is what you'll do also when you are like a 34B. If you make it for a 32A size, you will need to add this granny square border around so that it will fit your cup size a little better. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So you're just going to go into any chain 2 space and slip stitch on our yarn, and we're going to chain 3. And this will just be very similar to what we've already done. Chain 3, so we're going to do 2 double crochets into this chain 2 space, because remember our chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Then chain 1, that's a space, and we're going to do 3 double crochet clusters right into our chain 1 spaces. It's just like a granny square. This is just a granny stitch basically. So remember, chain 1 over 3 double crochet cluster, and then do 3 double crochets into the chain 1 spaces. So what we're going to pay the most attention to, and I know I'm going fast here, but this is because this is just very repetitive. The only thing I really want to talk about with doing this border around is when we get to these chain 2 spaces here in this corner where the join is, we're just going to do 3 double crochets because we want to keep this side flat. We don't need to have anything sticking out crazy. So just do 3 double crochets right into that chain 2 space, and then you're going to chain 1, and that join is basically going to count as a cluster we would be skipping over. And in that chain 2 space, we're going to go right ahead in there and just do 3 more double crochets. And we're going to do this on every join we're going to come across. You know, we're just going to do the 3 double crochets into the chain 2 spaces and a chain 1 right over that join, so we can keep our pattern going. And just go up, back up the side and continue on to this. Just doing 3 double crochets in every chain 1 space. And in our corners, it's just going to be just like when we were making our granny squares. We're going to do 3 double crochets and then chain 2 because it's a corner, and then 3 double crochets right in there. This laptop fan is super loud and I hope it's not bleeding into the sound. I'm going to double check before I post this, but hopefully if it is, it's not too annoying. So there you go, and then just go down your sides and continue. Exact same thing, very, very repetitive. So at the end of our new border around our cup, we do our last chain 1 over that cluster there, and we're just going to go ahead and chain, we're going to make 3 double crochets, because remember we started on a corner and we only did half of our initial cluster there. And then you're going to chain 2, or I'm not, actually you should chain 2, I didn't in this video, but you should chain 2, it's easier if you do. And then you're going to slip stitch into your chain 3 space. If you don't do that like I just did, obviously it's not the end of the world because I'm going on, but you want to, realistically. Anyways, you're going to find a chain 2 space on the other cup, and you're just going to slip stitch them together. So simple. Go ahead and tie off your yarn. This is wearable as is. I mean, if you put ties on the corners, you're done. But I like to really fine proof it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a single crochet border around the entire thing. And this is what I would also do if I had not made that additional granny square border around. I still always do a single crochet border. So I'm going to go ahead, after tying on my yarn, slip stitch into any chain 2 space corner of the triangle, and then I'm going to chain 1 and undo a single crochet into the chain 2 space,
And then I'm going to single crochet in every single chain space. So it's just like single crochet on top of my double crochets, single crochet in every little chain space, and then I'm going to single crochet into the actual chain one space, just one single crochet, and it's just a basic single crochet border all the way around. I'll show you what to do when we get to the chain two spaces, but it's basically what we've been doing with the double crochets. So here we are at the chain two corner. I'm just going to do, like you guessed, 2 single crochets right into the chain two space, and then we're going to chain 1 and chain 2 because it's a corner, and oops, then 2 more single crochets right into that chain 2 space. Voila, just like that. Then go ahead and continue doing single crochets in every little stitch that you've made thus far. And this is it. I will show you when we get to the middle of the piece. No, I'll show you right now. Okay. What I do here is just do a single crochet right where I join them, where I slip stitch them. And then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the chain 2 space. Sorry, I went fast there. You can kind of see. Just 1 single crochet right into the middle, and then another single crochet up the sides. So following this pattern, we will reach the end here, and I'm just finishing up my last single crochets, and now we're back where we started with the see, there's supposed to be a chain 2 space there, but I didn't do it, but it's okay. I'm just going to single crochet in it anyways. We're right where the middle is. We've just finished our other cup, and so we're going to end this now with more single crochets. As you can see, I've just gone around each cup. At the end, you're just going to do your 2 single crochets into the chain 2 space, right where we started. And then I am just slip stitching right into the top. You can chain 2. I don't know why. Sometimes I guess I'm not very consistent, but it really doesn't make a difference. Then just go ahead and tie off. And I'll show you how to add on ties and add on your fringe. So my fringe is always 8 inches long, unless someone has maybe over 36 double D, then I'll use something else. So to measure my fringe, I use this pink notebook, but let me tell you, DVD cases are also 8 inches long because that was the original thing I used to use to tie my fringe. You can also just get cardboard and measure out a piece of it and cut it. Anyways, I just wrap the fringe all the way around the whatever I'm using, and then I just cut it right at the top, and it's always the perfect length that I need it to be. So once I have all my fringe, I take 3 pieces of fringe. This is the perfect amount, perfect fullness for me. And I line them all up so they're even, and then I fold them and also make sure that they're even. And I get my top, and I usually like to start right in the middle, right into the center where our single crochet was, and stick my hook in there. I'm just showing you like where it's going to be. So yeah, just put your hook in, and then put the fringe on top of the hook, and just pull it all through. And then you're going to take it and throw it in there, tie it in there like that, pull tight, and then now you have fringe on. Feel free, if you've never put fringe on something before, just rewind this video and rewatch it. We're going to do this. This takes me, just in case you're wondering how long this takes, this top can take me 2 to 3 hours depending on the size. Fringe takes like an hour to put on for each cup or something, I think. Maybe 30 to 45 minutes for each cup. So just FYI, if it feels like it's taking you years, it's not a super quick process, even if it is simple. Just want to show you again. Go under every little single crochet there, and that's where you'll be putting your stitches on. So you put it on into the middle, like where I showed you, and then on this on the actual cups, you're going through the single crochets, and you're pulling your fringe through there. Once you have your fringe on, you're gonna put your ties on. You're gonna put them through the little chain 2 spaces. If you did do chain 2 spaces like you're supposed to, even though I didn't do one, but it's okay. Just yarn over and pull through. See, you're tying. This will be like a semi-thick tie. It's 2 strands held together. And I usually chain around 65, chain 65 for my ties. Sometimes I'm lazy and only do 50, but it usually still fits, but you can do as many as you need. And you're just going to do that for every corner. And that's it. That's the entire top. I'm sorry I don't have pictures of the final thing. I forgot to take pictures, but basically looks like the pictures I've shown here. This was my first tutorial in a while, so I apologize if it was not as clear as you were hoping. That's why I like that it's a video, so you can pause whenever you need to. But if anything is unclear, please do contact me because I want you to actually be able to use this tutorial. I will have tutorials available on my Instagram page on the black hand side. I was going to have a Patreon, but it hasn't been set up yet. So if you would like exclusive access or first access to these tutorials, please contact me there. There will be a highlight. If you're familiar with Instagram, there's going to be a highlight on my page where you can find out how you can gain access to more of my tutorials. And once again, please do contact me if you have any trouble with this. And please send me pictures of your completed work. I love to share your guys' finished work. Once again, my Instagram is on the black hand side. My website is Eurythmik.com. And my YouTube channel is the same name, Eurythmik. And thanks for watching. And I hope this helped. Bye.